Welcome back to Game-Based Learning in the World Language Classroom, the why, what, and how. We're on section 3 of my book, The How. I'm Madame Sensei. I teach Spanish, French, and Japanese to high schoolers out here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. If you want to talk to me about game making, game design, Minecraft Education Ambassadors, or the Minecraft Teachers Lounge, or meet me on Roxem, or contact me at studio-nemo.com, or I'm going to talk at length today about the Duolingo Educators Network. So we're on chapter 22 of my book. I spent a whole chapter just talking about Duolingo because I love it so much. And in our previous episode, I'd given you just a basic overview of Duolingo. In our last episode, we talked about spaced repetition in Duolingo, quick targeted feedback, data for assessment, and lots of fun stuff like that. And cue the opening theme song for my playlist, Look No Feather, which is teaching teachers how to use Duolingo. And I apologize that the rest of those videos are out of date because Duolingo has done so many exciting updates. I'm going to show you what they are right now. Cue that opening credit.
Duolingo. It's the best way for you to learn another language. Duolingo!
All right, so we were talking about the stories on the Duolingo website. Okay, so as your students are coming down the stepping stones, some of the buttons are going to look like books, and these stories have wonderful, wonderful comprehensible input. They use the cartoon characters with the different voices, the Project World characters that Duolingo came up with, and I'll tell you, my students really love these, and we do a lot with the stories. You can print them out. You can just do them whole class. You can have the students do them individually. They're just a lot of fun. And then each character has their little part of the story. It's great. It's really very cute. They also have podcasts, and podcasts are really great. Now, they're really for higher levels, okay? But and they're not available in every single language, okay? So there's Spanish, French, English. There's Portuguese, I believe. But at any rate, when your students are going on the path, they'll see the headphones, and they might get to a podcast if they're in the really, really later levels, or you could just send them to the Duolingo podcast website. I'll link that, okay? You can send them there directly. Actually, before we get to this, let's talk about this. So the podcast, when you go directly to the podcasts, they give you a little write-up about it, and then I don't know why I didn't take a screenshot of this. Underneath here, you can download a transcript if you need that. And some of I should link to it also. If you go to the Look No Feather playlist, for some of the French podcasts, I filmed some visual supports for my students because they were just a little bit beyond where my students were. For Spanish, if you go to Duolingo's YouTube channel, they have several of their Spanish ones with the words appearing on screen for that visual support and everything. But again, the Duolingo Educators Network is absolutely wonderful. And some of the supports that we have is this was created by Duolingo, some supports for the Duolingo podcast. And I think this was when I broke my foot tripping over a student's backpack, and I was just like, okay, substitute, turn on this video I've made and have the students listen to it and fill this out. Okay, so let's talk again about, I showed you in a previous video, these little headphones. Sometimes in the later things, they're going to take you to the podcasts. I think this is in flux a little bit, as Duolingo makes a lot of neat stuff. But they might take you to Community Hotline, and it's a random character. Well, it's not random, but it's a different character each time. So this time it was Vikram, and that's all I have here. Okay, I just have that picture of Vikram right there. Let me pull that back so you can see. There you go. So somebody's going to call in, and that's all AI generated voices. So sometimes the intonations aren't quite right. Encourage your students to use the rewind button on the bottom if they don't hear something right because maybe the intonation was a bit off. But still, these are really fun and they're cool and they're all in context and you want that comprehensible input. Oh, here we go. Here's one I showed right here. So there's the headphones. And I love that as I was taking the screenshot, my assignment complete thing came up in my email. So I just love that. This one was Bea. So she's sitting at her desk and listening to a phone call coming in, and this guy called in, and she's blinking. That's why she has no eyes. Okay. And so there's a bunch of comprehension questions. All right. Did you understand what you were listening to? And that's just the thing. Select 3 words you hear. That was the end of that. Okay. So it's fun. It's fun. I talked last time about the importance of all this data you're going to get once you make a classroom. All right. And I cannot overemphasize how much this saved my bacon in every single teacher evaluation. So you can see instantly how many students have done the assignment, and scroll down here. Underneath here would be your past assignments. So I don't usually check the assignments until they're over. And then you can look and see how much XP your students have and how long they've been practicing. And you can see, did they complete the assignment? It'll be green with a check mark if they've completed it. It'll be yellow if they completed it late. And it'll be red, and you'll see like 68 out of 75. Or you'll see 50 out of 75 or whatever. And then you have all the delicious, delicious data, the CSVs that you can then turn in to your administrator. Duolingo is not the only online tool I use, but honestly, it's the one they do consistently. When I was doing Quizlet, students would skip Quizlet. Maybe 50% of my class would just totally skip Quizlet, and they would take the ding to their grade for not doing it. Duolingo, they do consistently. So that tells me something about the gamification in Duolingo. The other ones I use during class time, I talk a lot about Minecraft, and I got my playlist on Minecraft, and I'm going to talk about my final exam, which was absolutely wonderful. I loved that to pieces. Roxanne will do whole class. We'll listen to a song, and we'll play Whack-A-Word or the lyric puzzle. And then Blue Kit, we do whole class, which is amazingly fun. I adore Blue Kit, and I'm experimenting a lot with really using it in different ways, as not just the flashcard app, but as ways to really trick my students into doing that metacognition that they need to do, and really, really trick them into thinking about the language and applying the language. And I'll talk about that in another episode. The Duolingo Educators Network, please join me on the Duolingo Educators Network. This has been so amazing to me. And there was one day, maybe 8 years ago, when we were back on Slack. We weren't on Facebook. We were on Slack, and I was working with some people on this huge project, it was going to help the whole world. I really felt like, wow, I'm helping everybody, not just my own students. And this was my first time using Zoom, this is before the pandemic and everything. And it suddenly occurred to me, oh my gosh, I'm collaborating with this lady is in Italy, and this one lives in France, and this one's in Pittsburgh, and this guy's in England, and we're collaborating over the world on this big project. And I just, that sense of empowerment for me as a teacher was so, it was transformative. It was like, wow, I'm really doing something to help the world, and I'm connecting with the world. And it was like such a big deal. So the Duolingo Educators Network, we do so much there. We help each other out. You shouldn't have to teach in a bubble. So please join us there. And let me show you some of the stuff. I broke my leg. I tripped over a student's backpack stupidly as we were running around playing a game. And Duolingo immediately, people at Duolingo sat down and made this lesson, which is now on the Educators Network. And there's hey, Pamela, here, let's help you with your substitute, So this was I gave this to my students. This was make your own Duolingo lesson. And it was a lot of fun, and they loved it. And so there I was at home, unable to get out of bed. The doctor wouldn't let me out of bed, and I'm Zoom teaching. And so I'm like, okay, substitute, could you pass this out to the students? And it was great. So thank you to Duolingo. They've given me so much support as a teacher. Like everything, all the supports I need to be a good teacher is right there. So let me tell you how to make a classroom. Before you can get to some of the bells and whistles. Oh, you know what? I'm over 10 minutes. So I'm going to break my video right here, and then we'll get back to this in the very next video because I talk a lot. I apologize. All right. Hope to see you on the next video.